Hello, and thank you for the invitation. On behalf of Vanna Sokolov and myself, Daniel Feldman, we're very happy and honored to be part of the Seoul Biennial of Architecture and Urbanism. And today we're going to talk to you about our project ZIBO, Industrial Zone Bogota, reviving Le Corbusier's Latin bastard child. In 1947, Le Corbusier was invited by Colombia's ambassador to the UN, Eduardo Zuleta Angel, to visit Bogota and give 2 lectures on his theory of urban planning and the future of cities. Amongst the listeners in those talks was Bogota then Mayor Fernando Masuera, who, pleasantly surprised by what he saw and heard, hired the Swiss architect to develop the urban plan for Bogota's future. The proposal presented in 1951 imagined a modern and functional city for 1.5 million people, which would prioritize the main natural systems, rivers and the Andes Mountains, and transportation infrastructure. Within that framework, he proposed a functional modern city with segmented uses locating residential neighborhoods to the north, seen in this image in yellow, work in the center, and industry to the west, seen in this image in the red pentagon. The plan was received with much skepticism, and after some requested reviews, with the help of Joseph Luis Suert, it was officialized. Sadly for some, unfortunately for others, urban development took its usual global south course, and by 1953, the plan had already been modified and ultimately discarded. The majority of the plan never came to fruition, and today the city has 2 remnants of it. On the planning front, the conceptual framework for using natural and transportation systems as a foundation for Bogota's city planning has persisted. On the architectural side, the industrial zone out west was partially developed, making it the only piece that ended up existing in the intended use and location and layout. Thoroughly ignored urban example of Le Corbusian planning being deployed and frozen in time, a bastard child of his mid-century Latin American adventures. Bogota today holds 9 million people, and as the main receptor of war-displaced nationals, expanded frantically in all directions. In this image, you can see in the background on the top right, the gray footprint of Bogota, holding down the 9 million people. On the bottom left, you can see the industrial zone that Le Corbusier had in red, highlighted in black, and in blue, the majority of the remnants of 1950s industrial construction. As you can see, Le Corbusier's zone is now surrounded by miles of all types of housing, yet it's still zoned for industrial use as it was in 1951. Most of the industry has left the zone due to trucking restrictions, cost of rent, and cost of utilities, and the area currently sits as a centralized hollow spot holding the largest planned and executed historic industrial zone in the country, made up of mostly 1950s modern factory buildings, the majority of which are underutilized and over-infrastructured. Its history was never written, and its origins have been forgotten. Its current state has made the zone easy prey for large-scale developers who plan to demolish and replace it with high-rise, low-quality, single-use residential gated communities. The zone, traditionally seen as tough, dirty, dark, non-place, is actually a fragile piece of history whose undervalued urban, spatial, and historic quality inspired us to take actions. For many years, we've been researching the zone as we see great value in it, while understanding that its current state of obsolescence is a reality that must be addressed from both a political and an economic perspective. To do so, in 2016, we created ZIBO, Industrial Zone Bogota, an arts and architecture-led activist urban development effort, which is activating obsolete industrial spaces throughout culture and technology, within the framework of an urban recycling plan rooted on transforming Le Corbusier's greatest spot into one of the city's greenest. Through our actions, we've taken aim at demonstrating that instead of erasing the city, our efforts should be focused on reimagining how we can better use that which we have already built, and by doing so, give a second life to already deployed resources. We accept the fact that industry no longer fits in the industrial zone and receive the threat that traditional development poses on it. This place where close to half of the buildings are not being used, Blocks are on average divided into 6 users. Lot coverage goes up to 96%, and the little public space available is mainly roads, presents the opportunity to simultaneously preserve and radically redevelop the zone, regardless of how contradictory this sounds. Our proposal, therefore, presents a 3-pronged strategy to preserve and redevelop Bogotá's historic industrial zone through actively preserving the historical buildings through redefining and mixing its uses, recycling these buildings by altering their footprint to create more open green spaces, and densifying and expanding the buildings in a respectful and a controlled way. We propose the structuring of a set of incentives that can be granted if developers comply with a series of setbacks and urban regulations. Additional floors and tax waivers are awarded in exchange of setbacks and backyards. The result of these regulations create a neighborhood where far more green space and direct sunlight are achieved without sacrificing available FAR. The mix of old and new amongst a redeveloped green public space setting, along with bicycle paths and public amenities and ground floors, could make of ZIBO a model for Bogotá. Today, we've been able to acquire 2 warehouses and through minimal interventions, converted them into cultural spaces. The first one, ZITA, like our office name, was intervened to offer generously layout-equipped studios for creative types, where we currently lease spaces to galleries, artists, architects, and the film industry. What was on the left once a warehouse full of boxes and dust is today different spaces that creatives occupy, like artist Bernardo Ortiz, architect Liliana Andrade, our office ZITA, and Sokolov and Associates, amongst others. The second space, Bodega Piloto, is an open arts and culture space where we host artists interested in mixing their research and experimentation with the history and community of the zone. In this process, we've hosted, amongst many others, plastic artist Mateo Lopez, seen here with his performance Industrial Park, and Maria Jose Arjona, seen here with her performance Experiment Number 1. In order to present this vision in the 21st Biennale of Architecture and Urbanism in Seoul, we proposed an activated object performance, which represents the history and future of the zone as a composition of superimposed layers, which tell the story of the development of the place and present a vision for its future. In doing so, we address the need to highlight its historic value as well as its future potential. Each industrial era is represented by a bundle of layers of materials used during that time. In 1950s, there was flour, 70s textiles, in 1990s metals, in 2010 plastics, and today cardboards. While a summary plate with text and plans show how the zone and city have evolved, including a plan for the future of the place, which we have designed and are currently working on with the city's Heritage and Urban Development Office. Our work has so far managed to become part of Bogotá's new land use plan for the next 12 years. We have managed to bring light to the fact that the city has a model piece of history which will be lost if nothing is done. Presenting our work in the Seoul Biennial of Architecture and Urbanism helps validate our research, advocacy, and vision. And for this, we are thankful with the organizers and curators. It's been an honor to join the selection, and we are proud to add this special moment to the history of this neighborhood we so much love. On behalf of my partner Anna Sokolov and I, we'd like to thank you very much.